Please listen carefully.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Focus Target Podcast. This is your host, Smiley, back with you after a week's hiatus. I was out traveling, and our schedules didn't really align for an opportunity to do it in the week that we missed. So we missed you. I don't know if you missed us, but I am back with my cohorts, Van and Shy, for Season 3, Episode 88 of the Focus Target Podcast. Today, we will be talking about sports, because there is a Stanley Cup playoffs in action. There is recently an NFL draft. There's a lot of trade rumors, a lot of good stuff to talk about. So we're going to get to that shortly. Van, Shy, how are you guys doing? Did you miss having a week off, or did you enjoy the breakaway? Shy,
I missed you guys. I got some stuff done, but I missed hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, my wife didn't miss me podcasting, but
Is that right?
I always thought it was fun. Dude, I was doing like a whole bunch of research getting ready for the pod, and then I was like, oh, we're taking the week off. So, just, everything. So all my data would have been a week later. And then of course I didn't do any research this week, so I'm not up to date with things that happened this week.
I'm sure you're up to date with some of what happened this week.
I am up to date with some of what happened, yes.
All right, well, before we get into all of that, we're going to do a question of the day, as is our way. And, last time we talked about, on episode 87, we talked about skill in video games, and we talked about kind of relative skill and kind of how that all wrapped up. And so I thought an interesting question might be, in regards to skill, share a story with us, each of you. I'd like to know, when was a time, if such a time existed, that you felt you just completely dominated in a game, whether it's multiplayer, single player, whatever. And what's a time that you completely just like were really below average, even for yourself? Like, what, if you want to talk about situations or specific games that, like, man, a certain game made me feel really inept, however you want to come about it. We can have a little bit of artistic license here. So let's start with Shy. And if you want to do either one or both, whatever you want to do. I don't really.
Yeah, I'll hit both.
It's our podcast. We don't care.
I'm gonna do 3 stories. No, I'm making up a new category. No, I already talked about the dominated one, I think, a little bit in the last episode, because we were talking about playing with people and skill. And I mentioned to you guys that when I went to college, I'd played a ton of Warcraft 3 like by myself in high school, and then like playing against some of my buddies on the dorm hall. I was significantly better than most of them were, and then there was a time when we were playing a 2v2 game, and then my teammate left my team and joined the opponent's team because they just wanted to shame me into losing a game. And I felt like at that time, not that I had strong competition. I don't think any of them were particularly good at Warcraft 3, but like I felt like I was dominant in, like, a big fish in a small pond, as you may. So I felt like I was good, until then I played another person later on who was much better than me, and I was, all right, I'm not that good at this game. So
always a bigger fish.
Always a bigger fish, and significantly bigger fishes. So now, goofing, I don't know if this is it'll be interesting to hear you guys' stories, but when we were talking kind of about question of the day for this week, this is what immediately came to mind. And it was, it's actually a story from Final Fantasy 11, and it involves, like us like in the last episode, we talked about kind of like, even like kind of like relying on each other and like competency and stuff like that. And fairly early on after I joined you guys, you guys, I think, would agree, but I've always been very interested in like coordinating stuff in MMOs. Like I feel like there's definitely we get more stuff done together, and I don't mind like doing stuff on my own, but it's like, why don't we all pool our resources, and if we can find something where we all benefit, that's even better. Like, right, and so pretty early on, I tried finding ways to use a currency in the game called Beastman Seals, and they had arena fights in the game that were known as BCNMs. And so I think I just started playing with you guys maybe for a couple months. I was long enough that you guys kind of knew who I was, and we'd done some stuff together. But these Beastman Seals, you could crew quite a bit of them. And I found this fight. I was like, I think this would be a good use of these. And it's a 4-person fight, and it seems pretty tough, but we seem to have all the jobs. And I was talking to 2 or 3 of you guys. It was 4 total. But I was like, I found a strat online that I think with our setup, we could do it. So, this is like the first time I tried to coordinate something with our link shell overkill. And we go in and like it takes all, Final Fantasy 11, it takes all this prep and everything. And we wipe. It was kind of a disaster. And I remember like I went back like I felt so bad immediately because it also wasn't my everybody we each came with our own pop items, and it wasn't like an item to spawn the bosses, and that's what took your currency, and it wasn't mine. The first person who went, I think we like randomed for it, so it was like a random roll, but it was I think a buddy of ours, I think it was Nipu, it was the guy's name, and so he lost his pop item, and we didn't get anything out of it, and I realized like I was kind of like I had my computer next to me and I was like trying to do some research really quickly, like what went wrong, and I realized I had told you guys the strat wrong. There were 4 enemies we were supposed to fight, and the enemy we were supposed to kill first was not the one that we had targeted. We targeted a different one. And so I'm like, hey guys, I'm really sorry, I realized what went wrong, this is what we need to do. And I was like, Nipu, like that was my fault, like you can have the rewards from when we kill mine, you can have the drops from that. And I was really worried. I'm like, man, what a horrible first impression. Like, these guys are going to be like, we're never doing anything with you again. But the next 3 runs we did went smoothly.
Nice.
And Nipu was cool with the fact that I gave up my stuff for him. And then
he would even allow that. I feel like
I'm surprised he would have accepted it too.
I feel like he would have been like,
well,
no.
And maybe we didn't. I don't remember. Maybe we split it. I don't know. Like I think there was something there. I don't know that he just took it straight up, but maybe we split my drops or something.
I feel like he would have said no, thank you, but just hated everybody for it.
So the cool thing was,
I don't know how much he hated us yet. That was more towards the end when Nipu was just like, oh, these guys, these fucking guys.
They're good, but I hate them. See, we should have talked our last week's conversation, right? About, friendships and bonds and playing with people because they're good, not because you like them. Like, Nipu didn't like any of us, but damn it, he played with us anytime we needed him.
Yeah. But the cool thing was that like kind of like static continued for a while, like several months, I think. Like we would just meet up maybe like once a week, or like maybe once every other week and do some pops.
Was that the steel ore, or was that
it was Orch Alchemy, I think.
The orc,
because it wasn't as because
that was the fish, right?
Or Orchalcamore, was that right? No, it was these 4
the quad abs,
right? No, it wasn't the quad abs, it was the ace.
No?
It was what were those things called? The cardians. It was the 4 cardians.
Cardigan.
Because the thing with the Kraken Club was the Kraken Club, we're getting way too in the weeds here, but like it was high payout but extremely low chance, right? Like you had almost no chance of ever getting a Kraken Club, even though it was whereas the Orchalcum Ingot or you got like, I think out of every set of 4 runs we'd see like 1 to 2 drop, and so
they were like several 100,000.
Yeah, they were like 300K I think normally at that time.
Awesome.
So it was profitable. There you go.
All right. Well, that's a great story. I mean, that's way better than what I've got. But Van, why don't
I know. How are we supposed to follow up on that?
It
was just fantastic. Can we just roll into the podcast from here?
Well, keep yours short then. Let's go.
Okay. So I was really good at a game, and then the other one I sucked at.
I mean that short.
Can we guess what games you're talking about? It's like a choose your own.
Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2. They're both Half-Life.
You know what game I never beat? Half-Life 3. So I can remember a game that we dominated in very clearly. It was when LAN parties were all the rage, and for those who are too young to know what a LAN party is, and I don't know, are they still a thing? I don't know. I feel like they should be. Do people not play PCs anymore? Anyway, a LAN party is exactly as it stands, or is exactly as it sounds. LAN stands for local area network, which is a type of connectivity, and it just means that you're all in the same room, directly connected to the same internet. And of course, there's some other nuances in there with LAN. You can connect computer to computer. But for the purpose of this story, all of us would bring our computers. So it was me and UberTech and my brother. I can't remember what Ignite 920 I think his handled, if people would have played with him online. And it was Black Mesa Zombie, I think is what you guys played with. Yeah. And so my brother and all of us get together, and we had this LAN party playing Battlefield 2. And it was just absolutely amazing because we're all in there and we're all like just nailing our roles. I'm the pilot, so like we have UberTech and my brother on the ground, and they're storming like an area, and they start seeing a tank roll in, so they call in for air support. So I bring the jet and I fly over, and I'm just dropping bombs, and it was just like so awesomely coordinated that it was just super exciting that like we were able to advance and take over any map because all of us were just in the same room. Communication, I don't know how that's any different than just being on Discord together, but it certainly seemed different. For some reason there was just a better type of attention and connectivity with one another, and we just completely dominated that map. And it was one of my favorite moments, having those. And of course just having a LAN party in general, right? Just being with all your friends playing video games is makes good memories.
Good
The time
times.
when I completely goofed was playing one of my first times ever playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was a mage, and I had a weapon that I used to refer to as Old Reliable.
Peace out, guys. I'm out of here.
Wait,
Stream's
Let
ending.
me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this. So apparently mages aren't really good bowmen, if you will, bow people, if you will, and their stats are pretty terrible, so their accuracy is pretty terrible as well. They're meant to use magic and stuff as opposed to ranged weapons. Who would have thought, right? Weird. I know. Nobody thinks of that.
I mean, listen, the thing is, like, actually, that's not true because a lot of spellcasters have high dexterity because some of their spells are range touch, so they need the accuracy. But you didn't spec your character that way. And also, when I gave you an opportunity to take some feats that would maybe help you be a little bit more accurate, you're like, no, I'm focused on the spellcasting side. I'm not going to worry about that.
If we're interjecting,
Let's be clear
yeah.
that wizards can use ranged weapons to a certain degree,
And-
a much higher proficiency level than certain characters I've RP'd with.
And Smiley is helpfully providing information as a DM. He was doing this and trying to guide you away from using this bow the entire time you were trying to use it.
Yeah, so I was a low level mage. I didn't learn, I didn't have many spells prepped the night before, just because I just don't have the the mana for it or whatever we used. I can't remember, because I didn't have enough. So I'd run out of my spells quickly. So the only thing I had was my bow, and my crossbow. And since I'm squishy, I'm always towards the back of the pack, right? Tank, DPS up front. And I wanted to not just pass on my turns, so I would try to contribute by using my crossbow. And inevitably, I think I always did more damage to my party than the mobs we were fighting
Every
time.
single time I would ask you, you realize that you have a chance to hit your own party, right? And you're like, yeah, I got it. Only if I miss by like really bad, right? And I was like, yeah, that's right. And then every time I rolled a 3. What does that mean? I mean, Shy just took
I think you knocked me out once. I think I had to do a constitution check and failed because you shot me square in the back.
Yeah, that's a great example.
That's
That's
a
a
good
huge
example.
fail. That's a huge game.
All right, man. I feel like the bar's pretty high for you, Smiley. Let's go.
Mine's not as good. I mean, the time I dominated, I always will remember this. That remember when we were all playing Destiny, they had an event called the Iron Banner where you had to
Iron Banana.
play the shit out of the multiplayer had death matches, and we played a lot together as a group. All of us did, and I think you guys would probably say I was a reliable middle of the pack player. Like I very rarely was like the worst, but like I didn't really creep up into the top 2 or 3 very frequently. Like I get streaky and have a good game, but I was just kind of an average Joe. Well, one night I was playing, and of course I was playing by myself, not with any teammates who would be there to witness it. And I just went lights out. I don't know if I just got in a group with a bunch of suggy players, or if I was just like, I had that moment of like zen where you're just like everything you're doing, you're knocking people down, you're headshotting left and right, no one can touch you. Like I had like a 20-1 KD in a game.
Jeez,
and like I'm just crushing, and like I'm taking pictures of it. Like after the game, it gives you that like the little thing. I'm like snapping pictures of it. Like these guys aren't gonna believe I did this. I'm gonna tell them, and they're gonna be like, "Bullshit, Smiley. Like, were you dreaming that last night? You had a dream about this? How fun, But it was. I don't know. I can't explain it. It hasn't really ever happened again. But I was just like, these dudes aren't gonna believe, and I just couldn't believe it. It's like, why is this happening when I'm not literally? I'm playing solo. Like we always do this as a group, at least 1 or 2 of us, and there's nobody here to like witness or see it. So apparently I perform better when I am not under the pressure of expectations of people I know. But I
that's that outlandish.
I dominated that for a short while. I was crushing it. The time I completely, you can say, I don't know if it's goof, but just got dominated. Wasn't actually, my example's not going to be from a video game. It's actually going to be from a real game. When I was in 2nd grade, I entered a chess tournament because I liked chess and I thought I was pretty good at chess. And like I always beat everybody I'd ever played. I'd never really lost once I learned how to play. Like I felt like I was pretty solid. And so I go through this tournament and I am just wrecking fools left and right. I get to the championship against one of my kid from my own grade named Jesse Branham, and we go head to head, and he mops the floor with me. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, he wiped me out. And then I played him a number of other times, and I never came anywhere close to beating him. Like, he just stomped me like I'd never played chess before. So I got second place in that tournament. I had the little trophy on my like counter for years and years when I was a kid, because it was really the only trophy I'd ever gotten. It was like second place in a chess tournament. And I played him a number of times. I entered a number of other tournaments growing up. He was from the same small town as I was, so I never beat him. Like, never once did I ever beat him at chess. And he told me his secret was that his brother was better than him, and he played against his brother and learned everything from his brother. And so the only person he couldn't beat was his brother, who was like a level of magnitude higher than you. And it was pretty sad. It was pretty sad, like just thinking you're good at something and then realizing, I guess you're really not. But I guess my understanding is that's how it is with chess. That like chess is such an intellectual game that like it's not like a lot of other games where like there's enough elements of randomness to kind of even the playing field. That like if you if you're like a grandmaster at chess, like it's not like you will accidentally lose. It's like just like a kindergartner won't ever beat you up if you're a grown man. Like it just isn't going to happen. And so,
and from what I understand about chess, there's also like structured, memorized responses and play styles and things like that too. Like if this person moves this one to this, I know what my next 4 moves have to be, and I know what he's going to do because it's the only move he can make, or she can make, and it's just
unless he's going to make a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Unless they make a mistake.
There's a lot of, I think, studying that goes in chess. Like, if you want to be good at it, not only do you have to just like put in a ton of time, but you have to like read a lot and like watch a lot, and like you just have to dedicate a lot of time to it because you have to know those like you're saying, like,
If you're interested in chess, and you have Netflix, if you have seen The Queen's Gambit, or if you haven't seen The Queen's Gambit, it's pretty interesting. It's really good. My wife and I watched it together, and we both really enjoyed it. It does give you some cool chess stuff, but it's also an interesting story. So,
is it a show or a movie?
It's a show. It's like a 6 or 8 episode, like 40-minute episodes.
I've just
so it's a mini series, but it's not. It's not having like a second season. It is like it's
self-contained.
Yeah.
I just resubbed to Netflix, and so
there you go.
You should watch it.
Stuff.
It's really good.
It's
not like a documentary.
No.
But historians agree that it is accurate portrayal of the time of chess. So like the events that took place were certainly within the I guess, realm of possibility, or was the norm even at that time.
I think it's based on a true story, but loosely. Like, you're right. It's not a documentary, but it's it's like it's based on a real girl who did a lot of the things in there similarly, I guess. So
cool.
So for what that's worth, okay. So that is our question of the day. If you, our viewers, have a time that you'd like to brag about, where you just were kicking ass and taking names, or if you want to cop to a time that you embarrassed yourself in front of your family and your ancestors, let us know. We'll have our contact information after the show. All right, so we already been talking about chess a little bit, which is a sport, but we're gonna go to team sports in America and abroad, and we're gonna start with the NFL. So NFL is the biggest sport, obviously, in the United States, and so it's gonna get the headline, as it always does. NFL draft came out. So, I mean, if you need a reminder, Smiley's the Bronco fan of the group. Shy is a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
And boy, there are a lot of Seahawks fans up north. Like everywhere I went when I went to Seattle, like Seahawks.
You were in Seattle.
We saw trucks that had like Seahawks on their side. They were painted like.
They say it's the 12s. Like they're like one of the most rabid fan bases. Like apparently all sports. Really like I hear the soccer team fans are like rabid as well. So the
Sounders.
Yeah, Sounders. Yeah.
But I come from Denver, where like the Broncos are definitely the most popular here. They're a popular team, but like you don't see Bronco stuff everywhere. Like you do, but you don't. Like see, I was surprised how much Seahawks stuff was just everywhere.
You guys have the Devil Mustang though, so I mean it kind of keeps everybody in line, you know.
No, that's the Demon Horse is not related to the Broncos.
Oh.
The Demon Horse, that's its own thing.
All right.
The Broncos have their own like rearing stallion, but it hasn't killed anybody that I know of. And Van, of course, Van still repping the Raiders. Is that right? The now Los Angeles Raiders.
What do you mean it's
Las
not
Vegas,
right?
Los Angeles.
Change.
Well,
Las Vegas Raiders.
listen, I don't know if the Broncos left Denver, if they just were out in the night. I don't know. I don't know if.
Well, you gotta remember they already left Los Angeles and they went back up to Oakland.
Yeah, they did.
And then I was still their fan, so then them moving over to Vegas, I actually like it better. So.
Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about the draft a little bit. How do you think your teams did? What do you guys? Anything notable from the draft? Did you note anything? Did you know there was a draft?
Can I start?
Shy? Yeah, please.
I think the most notable thing for the Seahawks is that we only drafted 3 players in the whole draft. Apparently, it's one of the lowest drafts, like the draft classes for a team, like in 8 or 9 years, and like I think there's only been 6 teams this low in like the last like 20 years or something.
What else do you need? You already got Marshawn Lynch.
No, we need a lot. Our offensive line needs help. So I think what happened was last year when the first, I don't know, just a quick recap of last season. Apparently the first half of the season we were blowing it away offensively. Like it was like the let Russ cook thing. He was looking like he was gonna have an MVP season, but our defense was just, it was horrible. So it was like basically like every game was like, can we score more than the opponent because our defense is letting everything through. And so they're like
changed from Seattle of old.
Yeah, well, not old even, but like what? Not like old. our Super Bowl, like
heyday,
our recent heyday. Well, our really only heyday, but so I think like about halfway through the season they decided to make some changes, and this is where I'm gonna like not remember names specifically, but I know we picked up this defensive player that they really wanted to get, and I can't remember his name, but like we traded I think a bunch of our draft picks to like and then maybe another player and some money, like different things to pick up this player who paid off pretty well. I think the problem was the second half of the season our offense didn't do nearly as well, but our defense definitely stepped up enough that we were able to get a wild card slot, even though we lost against the Rams in the first game. But yes, we only had three drafts. I'm only going to be able to remember. No, do I remember? So we got a wide receiver. I think he was our first draft pick. I think in like the 3rd round. We've got, I feel like, some pretty decent wide receivers already. We have Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf was looking really good last year, so it felt kind of weird that we would pick a wide receiver right off the bat, but I guess they just want to get more weapons for Russell Wilson. We picked up a cornerback, I think was our second pick. I don't remember what round that was, maybe 5th round. Apparently a shorter cornerback than normal, and I guess especially for Seattle, we're known to have, I guess, taller, and cornerbacks have longer like wingspans. So I don't know how that's going to play off. And then our last pick in like the 5th or 6th round was offensive tackle, I think, which we really need offensive linemen. So I'm hoping that pays off.
Never a bad pick.
Yeah. So that was our draft.
What about you, Van? What did you think of the Raiders' work?
I thought they were going to get more scoring offense position, but they actually went pretty heavy on offensive line and safety. And I was surprised. I guess I was surprised, but not surprised. So going into the 2020 season, the Raiders O-line was ranked 24, which is pretty terrible. But in all the games that I saw, that offensive line actually looked pretty good. There was good pocket protection, which is something that they hadn't had in a long time, which was something that really Carr struggled with. He didn't have a lot of time in the pocket, so he couldn't get his passes off. I feel like Carr is, I don't know, I feel like he's rated accurately. He's a good quarterback. I just don't think he had the O-line to make the right decisions. Now, you can argue that better quarterbacks don't need all that time, right? They'll throw the ball away and they'll find the open person quicker. But I just feel like he was unfairly short with his offensive line. So there's a lot of people getting through and a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So we did go with an offensive tackle, which, again, I thought they did well last year, but apparently they still wanted a stronger offensive line. So I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt, right? You have injuries and all those things. So they want the offensive tackle and then they want the safety, which fine. I feel like we're solid with our wide receivers. Of course, we have Derek Carr, who's our franchise quarterback now, and And I guess we're going to talk about possible new quarterbacks I see on the upcoming list here. But for now, Derek Carr's the guy. And I don't know, it seems like those were probably good picks. And if we just give that extra tenth of a second, to a quarter of a second in the pocket, that can make all the difference, right? Making the right throw or the wrong throw. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I'm excited. They're not slated to. I mean, they're slated to be, I think, a 500 team. They're not expected to go to the playoffs, but who knows? Maybe they'll have a breakout year.
There will be no 500 teams this season.
Oh,
should we talk about that? Should we talk about the 17-game season?
33 team,
whatever that means. Isn't that weird?
Whatever it
it's so weird.
Yeah, it is. It's always hard for me because you've got the history of and the context of having a certain number of games played. When it's been 16 games for basically the entire time I've watched professional football since I was a kid, kind of how, based on I can hear a team's record and know exactly how well they did, relative to expectations, and doesn't mean that other teams weren't better or worse than them, but I know that if you were 10-6, you had a pretty good season. I know that if you were 7-9, you pretty much missed the playoffs unless you were in a really sucky division or something really funky happened. And so whenever they change it, it makes it harder to know how well, just at a glance, teams are doing. Which
because now you have 8-9, right, instead of 7-9. And
that's right. And I also think it really kind of messes with the statistics, which sucks. It's now, when you're talking about the single season rushing record and the single season passing record and how many touchdowns, everyone's got an extra game now.
Yep.
And so it kind of skews those numbers. And, I mean, we've gotten more into the world of analytics now where we're a little bit more intelligent about it, where it's it doesn't really matter if you had 2,000 yards rushing, or, I mean, it does, but we can divide out the average rushing yards per game and get a more accurate representation of what you did. But it's still, it's kind of the old curmudgeonly baseball guy in me that's kind of just oh man, I wish they would have kept it at 16, but here we are. What do you guys think?
Just feels
sound like you wanted to open up with this bad boy.
No, I thought we were moving on to the next topic. I was going to ask Smiley about the Broncos draft, but no, I don't know. I don't really care. I don't know why they did it. Do you guys know why they did it? What the reasoning behind another game is?
I know the teams hate it. I mean, it's got to be money, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know the teams hate it. Everybody's complaining about more injuries, and rightfully so. I mean, there's 16 games, and everybody gets hurt so much in those 16 games. Well, you add another, whatever percentage that comes out to of games.
Well, Shit. Did they cut down the number of preseason games too?
It doesn't matter. You're not playing first stringers in preseason, and you're not going hard either.
I just feel like that was the way they were justifying it, where they're well, you won't get hurt as much because you won't have to play on all these preseason games. I thought they did, but I don't actually recall.
Has there been word what the preseason even looks like? Has that been set in stone yet? Because I feel like I've heard. It sounds, from what I've heard, it sounds like it's still kind of up in the air. Because there was no preseason last year, right? And that maybe that's still up in the air this year as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know last year they waited kind of as long as they could to make those decisions, just to see how, because things were changing so rapidly at the time. I think things have settled out a little bit more now, but they're probably still why paint yourself into the corner in May and make these decisions when you can see what the world looks like in 2 months and still have plenty of time. So yeah, well, I'll talk about the Broncos real quick. I thought they did all right. I am kind of I believe in defense and offensive line. I was proud that they didn't bite on another rookie quarterback, which I think is what a lot of teams that are kind of where the Broncos are, which is not really that good. They're always trying to find that next quarterback, and so they spend a lot of picks on guys who end up not being, they're trying to strike gold with a Patrick Mahomes, and more often than not, it doesn't work. I think you.
Yeah.
If I was a GM, my position is always you build a team around a quarterback, and a lot of guys who are kind of average can get the job done with a good team around them. Whereas even a really good young quarterback is going to get mauled if as you said, Van, if the offensive line isn't there for him, if the defense can't stop anything, and you got to score 40 points a game to win, it just doesn't make sense. So if you're an older time football watcher, you might recognize the name Patrick Surtain, or Surtain. I forget how they used to say it. Because I remember there's controversy. People say, "Oh, you're saying my name wrong." I remember him mostly as a Dolphin, but he played for the Chiefs, I think, and maybe a couple other teams as well. But his son, Patrick Surtain II, it was our number one pick. He was 9th overall for the Broncos, cornerback, just like his dad. And so, like, his dad was pretty good. And they say this guy's really highly rated and plays a good brand of D. And the Broncos secondary used to be really good, used to be like elite top in the league, and they've lost a number of players, a lot of guys who were good, kind of, came back down to earth a little bit. And so I think it would be great to shore that up, especially, in the AFC, especially, like with the Chiefs in the division, like you need to have some kind of defense against that. And there's a lot of good receivers, as Van was mentioning with the Raiders. A lot of good, dangerous weapons out there that having a good cornerback is not a bad investment. And then they got, for their second pick, they got a running back, Javonte Williams, out of, I think, North Carolina. But they say he's like really physical and a very heavy downhill runner, which I think will complement the backs that we already have, Philip Lindsay, and I think we still have what now? Why am I blanking on his name? It was that old. Who was that guy from San Diego who came over to us?
Case CJ or I'll find it for you right now.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. He was a good running back for them for a long time, and I thought he was a good.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah. It's hard to be an idiot, but I think both of our receivers are more speedy and elusive, and so having a heavier runner I've always liked that. If you're gonna have multiple running backs, which is definitely the way the league has gone, it's I like having a change of pace running back. Have two different styles to be able to keep the defense honest and also help you in different situations.
Melvin Gordon,
yes, of course. I think is he still showing up as Denver?
Yeah, he's in your depth chart.
Okay. I thought he was. I hadn't heard of him leaving, but I haven't been as engaged with football as I have with hockey for obvious reasons. So let's talk about the big fish then. If you guys are ready to move on.
Oh man.
Hold on one second. I just want to.
Yeah, please. What do you got?
Broncos predictions. Get this, man. And I know the big fish. We're about to talk about it. Actually, mate. I'll wait till after. I'll follow this exactly after the big fish.
Before we jump into the big fish, can I ask you a question, Smiley, about the Broncos? No. All right.
Of course you can.
I think I heard the other day. Did you guys pick up Teddy Bridgewater in a trade?
Yes, they did.
How interesting. How interesting.
I like Teddy Bridgewater actually.
Yeah.
I think I thought he was a good coach. Or not good coach, good quarterback. When they picked up, you might remember a couple of years ago they had Minnesota had that really good year where they had Teddy Bridgewater who played really well, and they also had the quarterback that we got, who now I can't remember his name either, because I'm an old man and I can't remember things. But like we got the other quarterback, and I was like, man, I kind of wish we would have gotten Teddy Bridgewater then. So I'm happy to get him now. I think that'll be good to have a second guy in there to push Drew Lock. I like Drew Lock. I don't know if he's the answer, but I think hopefully they can push each other and be serviceable, assuming we don't land a bigger fish. Big fish in the small pond. Aaron Rodgers. A lot of rumors about Rodgers saying that he does not want to play. Yeah, that's not a rumor. He has said he does not want to play for Green Bay in the coming season. Green Bay has said we want to keep Aaron Rodgers. We do not want to trade him. We want him to play for us this year. So it'll be interesting. In the NFL, very rare that a player actually has the kind of leverage to do what Rodgers is trying to do. But if there's anybody who could, I feel like Rodgers is on a short list of guys who maybe has the clout to do something like that. So the reason especially that we bring this up is because Rodgers has listed 3 teams that he will allow himself, because he has a no trade clause in his contract, so they can't just trade him wherever they want. But he has listed 3 teams that he'd be willing to go to if the backers were willing to deal. And those 3 teams are the San Francisco 49ers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Denver Broncos. So obviously that would make a pretty huge change, I think, to both of our teams. The question I have, and Shai, I want you to chip in as well on what you think. You can put it in terms of Seattle or just what you think for either of our teams. But how much is like? First of all, I guess, would you want Aaron Rodgers? I guess not everybody loves Aaron Rodgers. Like, are you hoping that the Raiders will go for him, or that, do you hope he'll move to your team? Do you think he'll move to your team? And how much is too much to give up for him is really the question on my mind. And Shai, you can maybe answer that however works for you. But I'm going to start with Van. What do you think about Rodgers possibly coming to the Raiders?
I mean, we would love it. We would embrace it. We would welcome it with open arms. I'm wondering if maybe that's what those. I guess because the news broke after the draft, but I'm thinking like maybe he sees this strong O line or stronger O line. I don't know what we're ranked for this season. It might be too soon to tell. He knows he has people he could throw to. Now, granted, we don't have any all-star wide receivers, but they're good wide receivers. Actually, I think we did have one last year. But so he has people to throw to. I mean, he could do so much more than just throw, though, and he's got the O-line. Raiders have been rebuilding since Gruden took over, right? Like 4 years ago. I mean, we've offed some really expensive people and high-value people so that we can rebuild from scratch, which is what he was planning on doing for the first place. And I just feel like this is like the icing on the cake if you end up going with Rodgers. So would you welcome him? I say absolutely. We haven't had I say Carr's a franchise quarterback because he is by definition, but like a quarterback that everybody, and I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush, but like since the Rich Gannon era, like nobody's been behind a quarterback at the Raiders that much. And I feel like Rodgers would certainly bring that that tightness to rally behind your quarterback.
What about Sopo? You guys didn't like Sopo?
No, I'm not a big Tui fan.
He had a great name, at least.
He was cool. Yeah, he does have an awesome name. So check this out. You were saying like what kind of impact he would have. I'm on the Broncos page. I haven't seen the Raiders one. I'll check it out. But like, so these are the three predictions. Without Rodgers, the Broncos are expected 8-9. With Rodgers, they're expected 12-5. And the next one is 6-11 without.
The difference between
11-6 with. Exactly, and then playoffs and how deep, right? And then the third prediction is 9-8 without, 13-4 with. So everybody undoubtedly believes like just having him is worth, 5 to 6 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, he was MVP last year, right? I don't think we mentioned that yet, but he was the league MVP, if I remember correctly. So
of the regular season, I believe you're right.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
The question is though, how much is too much to give up for Rodgers? Because the going rate, what I've heard speculated that the Packers would require to move him would be either 3 first-round picks or maybe 2 first-round picks and an established solid, B+ or better player. Like, I mean, that's really a like mortgage your future to get this guy now situation. Is that? Like, how would you feel if the news broke tomorrow that the Raiders had given up their first-round pick for the next 3 years, and maybe even a second round the year after that, but they got Rodgers? Are you happy with that trade?
I trust Gruden, dude.
Okay.
So what
do you think? You think if the Raiders...
I trust Chucky knows more about what's going on with that team than I would as a.
So you would suggest that if the Raiders brass thinks it's a good move, you're on board.
I'd back it.
You're gonna trust the process.
Yep.
What about you, Shai? What are your thoughts?
We got a young team. I mean, our receivers are young too. So you give them 2 or 3 years of development. I don't know, man. I think it's a good move. Or that I'm just excited because it's Raj.
Before we get Shai, I will say that in that regard, that he reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning, who, Peyton Manning, he had some good receivers around him, but he made a lot of receivers what they were.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's true with Rodgers too. Like, he's the kind of guy who, like, if you have decent receivers, he can make them good. If you have good receivers, he can make them great. So,
I think I would also pitch in that's I think how Russell Wilson has been as well in his career. Is Seattle's never really had amazing receivers, like all-star talent, but Russell Wilson has worked with what he's had, and he's really made some people stand out. But
Joey Galloway back in the day.
yeah, well,
That guy was one of
whatever.
my favorite players.
Yeah,
I love Joey Galloway.
but like I'm just saying, like some of the more recent ones.
Yeah,
Like I don't know that
I
anyone
know.
like Tyler Lockett. I don't know that anyone who's on anyone's radar. And I'm trying to think of the guy even before Tyler Lockett who was like Russell Wilson and him had a connection. And like he wasn't like considered a great receiver, but like he just had some great seasons with Russell Wilson. But all that being aside, I think Van. I wanted to speak into something. I think I wanted to segue from Van's point about how the Raiders have some young receivers and give them some time to develop, and they're going to really mature. I think the problem with that scenario potentially is just how old Aaron Rodgers is, and I have to imagine any team that's looking at him like they have to take that into account because. I mean, we don't know if he's like got that Tom Brady stamina. I just checked ages. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 37, Brady's 43. Brady just won a Super Bowl at 43, and who knows? Like, but I think he's outstanding physical specimen as well. I don't know that Rodgers in 6 years is going to be playing at that level. And obviously he's been beat up. He's had a great career, but he's been in the game for a while.
Especially because they have very different styles. I mean, Brady never runs. He's a pocket quarterback through and through. Whereas Rodgers has always gotten a lot more done with his legs. That's a lot of his value. Like the fact is, guys like that do tend to wear out.
Take more hits probably,
and take more risks. Like I mean, you're always in the NFL. You're always just one bad hit from being done.
Yeah.
But
and that's what I wanted to talk about too. Was like. Hold on, sorry, I'm getting some weird sound in my headset. I'll try to talk through it. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Raiders have Josh Jacobs too, and he's a credible running back threat. So it's going to relieve some of that pressure to always get to Raj because you have this threat there that's there the entire time too, and I feel like that will work to his benefit as well. So I don't know. I feel like the team's just there, man. If we got Raj, I think it'd be amazing.
So to finish up with Smiley's statements, I wanted to say one more thing too, is that I don't think this is I think he kind of mentioned Seahawks as an afterthought, but I think the Seahawks are definitely a primary thought in this formula, in that if he goes to the 49ers, the Seahawks have to play him 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And the 49ers are always a challenge for us, but they haven't had a good quarterback. And I was listening to a Seahawks podcast the other day, and they were talking about just how hard it has been for us to play Green Bay over the last several years. In fact, I don't know that we even have a winning record against Green Bay over the last few years. Like Aaron Rodgers, I think, has actually really torn us up. And so that's a scenario I don't want to see, is us playing Aaron Rodgers several times a year in our own division, which is already hard.
Remind me, one time when you guys came out, it was the playoffs, and we went to a Buffalo Wild Wings, and we watched the end.
Was it Packers and Seahawks?
Yeah, I don't remember who won.
I think the Seahawks did win because you were not happy. You were really mad, and I was so sad because I'm like, why can't you be happy for me, Smiley? But you can't be happy for me.
I just remember
not for the Seahawks. Well, that was a little too close. Oh, go ahead.
Eating those wings and them just being super
the
hot.
atomic wings or whatever. We got like
oh
additional.
God, they were so.
I remember we had that challenge we were doing where you had to like, what was it? You had to like not eat with the hand that you were. I don't. That was a fun trip. Those
liars.
Pirates poker. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't. I just wanted to say that really quickly. I think it'd be cool to see him go to either team. I think as much as Broncos used to be a rival of ours, I feel bad for the Broncos. Like I think they've had some rough years. I think it'd be cool to see Aaron Rodgers play with them. I don't know a lot about the Raiders. I haven't followed them over the years, but I hope one of you guys teams get him.
I think the Raiders have had a rougher ride than the Broncos. Broncos had a Super Bowl a couple years ago.
I think I would say, like, I don't know that for a team that maybe has a lot of good young talent and who feels pretty solid except at the quarterback, which I think it sounds like maybe both of your teams are like that to a certain extent. Maybe Smiley's maybe disagreeing, but I don't know. I feel like maybe giving up 2 to 3 first-round picks for a proven quarterback isn't as risky. If you've got the rest of the pieces in place. I mean, what is a first round pick? It's a shot at picking up an unknown in the professional league, and like you were just saying, Smiley, about like you were glad that the Broncos didn't pick up another untried quarterback. Like that's what the draft is. You never know how someone's going to pan out. But here you have Aaron Rodgers, who's proven extremely good quarterback. So
yeah, I think Clayton Kershaw was like 16th overall or something like that. Like the Stars are rarely picked number 1. So real quick, the last question you had was, who will he choose? He's going to go to Denver if he goes away from.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Denver's a natural spot, right? I mean, we just watched this exact same thing happen with Peyton Manning a couple years ago, like the John Elway pitch. come here and win a Super Bowl at the end of your career. And Manning did it. He did it for us. He got us there, gave us a number of great years. Got the job done in the end. And like, I could totally see him being John Elway pursuing a guy like Aaron Rodgers to try to do a similar thing. The problem is I just don't know that we have the same team. Like, we had a great defense when we had Peyton Manning. We had a pretty solid offensive line. The team is okay, and would Aaron Rodgers help? Absolutely. But I don't know that he's enough to get the Broncos over the top, especially in the division that they're in. I don't know that if you add Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos, if I still think they're at best a coin flip against the Chiefs, and maybe not even that good against some of the teams in the NFC. So, I
That's
don't
a good
know.
point, because no matter who he goes to, we still got to play the Chiefs.
Yeah, and they're more than just Patrick Mahomes. They are a well-defined team on all three facets of the game, which is horrifying. So yeah, I don't know. It would be hard, if I'm in that room and they say 3 and they want the deal I offered to Van, the next 3 years of first round picks and a second rounder down the line, or maybe a contingent second rounder. I just don't know. I don't know if I do that. And I love Aaron Rodgers. But I do think that sometimes, you have to build the right team. A quarterback isn't always just a Band-Aid that fixes all of your problems. And I think the proof of that is, how many has he won in Green Bay? He's won one time. Like, they're always relevant, but even with pretty solid, decent teams around him, he has not been enough to get them over the top with Green Bay. And I don't know that, like, you take Rodgers out of the picture and you compare the Broncos to the Packers, I don't think they're actually that different. I think they're probably fairly comparable. Maybe the Broncos are a little better, but that would be my worry. I worry that Rodgers wouldn't be enough, and that we'd give up a lot of picks for the future that could help set us up down the road. I don't know. Hard to say.
So quick correction. Kershaw was 7th overall.
7th overall? Yeah, okay. Yeah. They knew a little bit about that. That was a well-made pick. All right. Let's run down to the NHL, because we have not given it a lot of time. As always, the NFL sucks all the air out of the room, just the way it is in this country. But let's talk hockey briefly, all right? So, to bring you up to speed, Van and I made 2 bets on this very podcast. One of those bets has been resolved. The first bet was the smaller of the two. It was a $20 game that Van graciously bumped up to 25 at my request.
After he had already won, so it's not like
after I already won.
Yeah, it's not like I bumped it up.
So the side bet was who finished better in the head-to-head series between the Avalanche and the Golden Knights. The Avs squeaked it out. We were 4-4, but the Avs got an extra point with an overtime loss. So the Avs were 4-3-1 versus the Golden Knights being a true 4-4, and so the extra point was a tiebreaker in that scenario. And so the Avs squeaked by. I spent my pick on a game called Slay the Spire, which is a single player. Although they've modded it to be multiplayer, I guess. I haven't looked into that, but it's a single player game where you like build a deck like Magic the Gathering style and use those cards to fight enemies as you go through a roguelike tower. It's super addicting. Since you got it for me like 2 nights ago, I've played like 10 hours worth. So
oh my gosh.
It's really good. It's hard to put down. It's well done. So thank you for that, Van. So first one goes to me, but the big one, the big prize, the $60 full prize game is really about who goes further in the postseason, because that is what matters. So we don't know how that will end yet. Stay tuned. We'll keep you up to date. The scenarios right now are pretty straightforward. The Avs and Golden Knights, if they both win their current season, will meet in the second round, and that will obviously yield the answer we need. If one makes it to the second round and one doesn't, that also is a pretty clear-cut scenario. We could have some funny tiebreaker stuff if both the Avs and the Golden Knights screw the pooch and get beaten in the first round, which I do not think will happen. But if it did, we'd have to go into some other stuff. So both teams have played one game in the first round. As smoked the Blues last night 4-1 in a game that was very enjoyable to watch. Playoff hockey is so good for any team, and to have my team in the playoffs playing at a high level is just incredibly enjoyable. I was on the edge of my seat the whole game. Like, hockey in the playoffs is so tense. Like, every play matters. It's just crazy. Like,
dude, it's like a different level of energy, right?
It is.
Like baseball's in playoffs, and the energy seems the same. It's just the crowd is roaring like crazy. But like hockey's, like players in the playoffs, dude, they're giving it like 100. It's insane. Like the effort is just there constantly.
What a number of Stanley Cup champions have said is that the difference for them winning the cup to the years that they didn't was that they left everything on the ice every shift. Every shift from the first round on, that like you just have to bring your 100% effort all the time. And you see it with like I've watched every game except I saw part of Panthers or Predators and Carolina, and then there was another game that was going on kind of concurrently with the Avs that I didn't see, but I've watched like 5 or 6 games now already, and like everybody's just going crazy. Everybody's getting after it. It's fabulous. So the Avs took care of their business. Golden Knights Minnesota had a great game. Probably one of the most exciting games I've seen in the playoffs. And there were no goals through regulation, 0-0 going to overtime. But that did not make it a boring game at all. Great goaltender, great opportunities, like hard hitting. Everybody. Like that was a thriller of a game.
Great goaltending, man. It was incredible. And I was telling Smiley after the game, I was like, man, I have never watched a 0-0 game be that exciting before in my life. It was just a very entertaining game to watch. I wish it would have ended differently, but it was just an extremely entertaining game to watch. It was crazy.
It's funny because a 0-0 game can be really boring, right?
But
it wasn't.
A few shots on goals, low energy, all that. No, this is like high energy.
They were trying to score.
4 of those goals didn't go in. It was just the goaltending was on point. Like you get some of those saves like 1 out of 100 times. Like it was just wild. It was amazing.
It was, yeah.
And wild as in Minnesota wild.
Yes. Well,
I don't know, man. They're a tough team, dude. I certainly think Vegas is going to win the series. But Minnesota's a hard team, man.
Let me take you back. You asked me off the air, when I told you that even though I think the Avs would do better against Minnesota, I'm absolutely rooting for the Golden Knights to win this series, irregardless of our bet, irregardless of anything else. I will never go for the Minnesota Wild, even if it hurts the Avalanche, even if it's worse for the Avalanche. And you said, why do I hate Minnesota? So, it is kind of a weird team to hate, right? I don't have anything against Minnesota. I like the Lions. Yeah, sure. I don't mind the Twins. But a number of years ago, it was actually in 2014. So I guess that's 7 years ago now. Boy, that's a long time. It was just after I met my wife. The Avs made it back to the postseason for they had been one time in the past 10 years. Basically since Joe Sakic retired. They made it back. They had an awesome season. They were second in the West. They got Minnesota in the first round. And I went to that game, game 1 with my mom and my new girlfriend, Sarah, who I'd only known for a couple months. And it was one of the most amazing games I've ever been to. It was so exciting. The Avs scored with just a couple minutes left to tie it, beat them in overtime. It was incredibly thrilling. It was amazing. They go through the rest of that series. They win the second game. In the third game, one of the Minnesota players, I don't remember his name right now, and I don't want to accuse the wrong person, but took a cheap shot at our best defenseman, took him out for the entire series, injured him, ended him for the year. Tyson Barrie out, changed the series around. We lost game 3, we lost game 4, win game 5, lose game 6. Go to game 7. I go to the game 7. I had tickets to game 7. I went alone this time. And it was just back and forth. The Avs led the whole way. They were up 1-0. They were up 2-1. They were up 3-2. They were up 4-3. 4 minutes left. We're winning 4-3. They get Minnesota ties it. And then in overtime, Niederreiter scores and knocks them out, and the season's over. And that loss, not only did it like haunt me over the summer, like I was like, it was just like a tragic thing for me. Like I was so invested in that team. I'd watched every game. I was so into them. Like it was heartbreaking. Like, and then like getting back on the train on the ride, on the long ride home. Like I always remember it, man. It was devastating. And then like that sunk that team. Like it wasn't just me. Like it psychologically impacted the Avs. They did not make the playoffs for the next 2 years. Then the next year, their coach quit on them. They have the worst season in their franchise history, 48 points. Like it was like the beginning of like this terrible slide. And there's no team I hate more than Minnesota because they were cheap and dirty and at least that year they were terrible. They were so they. But, you know, the thing is they played this same kind of game that you saw where, like, it was the exact same thing that I think you witnessed in game one where, like, you were the better team, right? Like, you felt like Vegas was the better team.
Yeah,
and that's how...
More shots on goals, more accurate shots. Like, yeah, we should have won that game.
That's exactly how that whole series was with the Avalanche where, like, you knew the Avs were better, but Minnesota hung around. They played that kind of tough, like annoying hang around low energy style that kind of kept them in the game, and there was that way the whole series. And like when you lose to a team like that where it's like you should have beat them, you were better, you had a more talented squad, but like they still beat you, like it sucks. So I agree. I think Vegas should come out of that. I think they will, but it's scary for me to watch because I've seen that show before. And we
got another game tonight.
Yes, they will. Yes, I'm looking
2 hours and 15 minutes.
What is the timeline on the resolution of this second bet? Like, when will we know? Like, when would the second series be done? Assuming
that's a great question. Right now, conveniently, the Avs and the Golden Knights are on opposite nights, so like we're taking turns playing, so we don't have to. We can both. Like I've been watching both series, and I plan to. It always depends how long it goes, and it's weird this year. Like normally I would be able to tell you. This year I don't think I can because usually the playoffs all start together and each round finishes together, right? So in previous years, everybody plays all the way through the first round, and then once everybody's done, they go on to the next stage, right? Unlike, say, the NBA playoffs, which do not do that. The NBA playoffs, as soon as two teams that are going to meet can meet, they do. And so, like, you might have one team in the third round, potentially, where another team is still in the first round. Like, I mean, that's an extreme circumstance, but, like, they don't gatekeep it. But this year, because of the COVID and, like, the weird scheduling, like, the Canadian teams are actually still playing regular season games. There's a regular season game tonight between Calgary and Vancouver, while the playoffs, like, some teams are already playing their second game in the first round. So I'm not sure whether they're going to like wait to catch up or if they'll, if the Avs and the Golden Knights both finish their series, if they'll let them start round two. I haven't heard whether or not. It looked like maybe you were looking that up, Van. Have you seen anything with that?
No, I was just looking at. No, I was not.
Okay.
I was checking the rest of the schedule for the VGK for this season or for the first series, and it ends May 28th. If it goes to Game 7.
All right, that's what I was wondering. All
right. So that would maybe be the length.
Week.
Yeah. Most playoff rounds, it's usually about 2.5 weeks per round.
Cool.
So, yeah, I mean, we're still a little ways off from having a resolution. Again, unless one of the teams does not make it to the next round.
So stay tuned. More to come.
Nice. More to come on the status of the bet. All right, Shai, do you have a surprise for us?
I think I know what it is.
Were you the one? Yeah, you know.
I have no idea what it is.
So I was I've been doing some physical therapy, and the other day I was at a physical therapy appointment. My physical therapist is a huge sports fan. We've been talking football. He's an Eagles fan. I'm a Seahawks fan, and he's like, are there other Seattle teams you follow? He's like, you've had some good teams past. I'm like, yeah, we used to watch the Mariners and the Sonics growing up. Obviously, the Sonics no longer exist. He's like, they're getting a hockey team, right? And I was like, what? So I went and researched it, and we are getting a hockey team, and I think this is going to be great on multiple levels because I'm super excited about getting in at the ground level with a team. I've been interested in getting into hockey. I've told you guys both this in the past. Like, I've kind of wanted a team to stand by, and I'll totally be a Seahawks fan, but I think this will really give us some good material to just, get some pronunciation work done because they have, I think, one of the best sports teams around. as
The
they're going to be
best
called the
name.
Kraken. You know, the Seattle Kraken.
The Seattle Kraken.
And
There you go, from the mouth of
So-
China. It's the Kraken.
so-
Absolutely, it
He's
is.
patronizing you. He's
so
not serious.
so I don't know. I'm
Serious.
honestly I'm super excited. I guess they're supposed to play in the next season,
Yes.
but apparently they have one player. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, they have
but,
one killer so far.
Yeah, I saw that they signed. I forget whose name it was. I showed that to Sarah because Sarah's like, I told her a couple days ago, maybe it's a couple weeks ago, like they officially were incorporated.
Yeah.
As of a certain day, they were officially able to make transactions, and she's like, well, how can they be a team if they don't have any players? And I was like, well, I mean, that's how now they can start signing.
Yeah,
Like,
now
how
they
could
can get
be
players.
How could they be a team without having any? You know, like
As
how
an
could they have players if they weren't a team?
As an expansion team, do they get like special benefits in the draft? Like, will they get more picks than other
Yeah,
teams, or
so-
like, no?
Yes, they do.
Alright.
So it's this year will be the expansion draft. So they'll get to pick one player from every team in the league to build their team.
What?
You're not aware of the expansion. So
I
this
feel
is what
like
happened.
I feel like you're having fun at Shy's expense right now.
Well, do a little research and you'll
I
see
will.
that I'm
I'll
not.
do some
mean,
research.
That's what the Golden Knights did, right? Like
Alright.
they'll have the exact same rules that the Golden Knights had a couple
Nice.
years ago
Alright.
when they came in, which they'll get to pick one player from every NHL team. Each NHL team will have the ability to protect a certain number of players. Standard is, I think, 6 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goalie.
I'm looking at it right now. It's
Or no,
their
base.
protection is 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie.
Or they
Dude,
can
that's
do
crazy because
or they can do 8 players total
Alright.
if they don't like
or
that
8
breakdown.
skaters. Yep.
8 skaters of any
And
type.
1 goalie.
And 1 goalie.
But that sucks, man, because the their Golden Knights have like 2 amazing goalies, and we could potentially have 1.
They picked a goalie from the Avalanche in their expansion draft, and then they didn't even keep him. They dropped him after like 3 days. But
So
this is gonna be exciting.
yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm excited. I'm gonna have to start like learning about the NHL. I don't know almost nothing about it. I didn't realize that like this could sound ridiculous, but that American teams and like Canadian teams played each other in the playoffs. Quick trivia fact, since I've been researching it, just in the last 24 hours is really when I found this out. Apparently Seattle has a really good heritage actually with hockey. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they had a hockey team back in the day, and they were called the Metropolitans. They were the first American hockey team to actually win the Stanley Cup. So, yeah, a little bit of
no
trivia
idea.
for you there. Yeah, and I think their logo looks bad. Yeah, research it. The Metropolitans.
I will.
I think the logo looks badass. It's like the S, but then there's like this there's like an inset tentacle in the S, and then there's like a kraken eye. So I'm just gonna go back and forth. Is what I'm gonna do.
That's
I'm just
really the
mess
only-
with you guys.
that's the only
Well, I mean, it's
fair,
really just called a Kraken. You could just stick with that.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my surprise. I'm excited about joining fellow NHL fans. In the future, I'll be able to have a hat. We'll all have our NHL
I love
hats.
Look what you
Yeah.
did, Smiley.
Like
Look
Baby
what
Shy,
you've done, sir.
Baby Shy, born into the NHL fandom.
Yeah, they got like an anchor logo too, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both
they-
logos look
they
pretty cool. Yeah.
Their alternate one is very dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see what they can do. I mean, what Vegas did, they were able to really make a lot of deals before the draft to get other teams traded them players, traded them draft picks in order to make concessions to say, hey, if we can't protect this player, but if you agree not to take him from us, we'll give you a 5th round draft pick or something. And so they made a lot of cool little deals like that to kind of build up their coffers. And that's one of the reasons that they were able to do so well. A couple points. Wouldn't it be very interesting if the Golden Knights do not protect Fleury and
There's no way.
But because he was the one who was taken, like he was the big name guy who was taken from Pittsburgh. Like he was
Yeah.
like the real quality number 1 goalie that they were able to get. Like
Right.
what a story that would be. But
Yeah.
I
I'd be
don't
pissed.
know.
I'll be pissed either way.
Yeah,
But I'll be doubly pissed if they take Fleury.
Both
I
of
love,
our
I love
teams-
what he's done this season.
Do all?
when they
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is the story of like every expansion team that all fans of every other NHL team like hates the new expansion team because they've taken a player from their team?
It depends who they take. That's what I was about to say. Like, it's worse when your team's good. Like for the Golden Knights and the Avalanche, there's no way we're not going to lose an awesome player that we basically love.
Yeah.
When the Avs after that expansion draft, they were the worst team in the league. I mentioned that season. That was their 48-point season.
Crazy.
They didn't have anybody you wanted.
I'm going through protecting players, and I ran at 8 real fast.
You
so
run
it's
out.
Like you're gonna lose. Yeah, you're gonna lose somebody good.
Yeah, the Avs are just like we're at peace. Like we know that we're gonna lose somebody good, and that's sad. What's going to really make it interesting, and what's really in Seattle's benefit even more than the Golden Knights, is usually every year the salary cap goes up a little bit to kind of, because that's just kind of how it is. But this last year, because of COVID, because the league has lost so much money with all these COVID delays, the salary cap has been flat this year, which put a lot of teams in a crunch. They didn't expect that. They made deals 2, 3, 4 years ago for some of these contracts expecting to get more money that they haven't gotten. And now the league said the next 2 or 3 years, I can't remember which, I think 3 years, there will be no salary cap increase. It's going to be flat. So there's potentially a lot of good players that normally would be protected, but that teams are like, well, this guy is costing us $7 million. Like, he's good, but like, maybe we could afford to let him go. And for a team, an expansion team, generally you don't have cap issues early on. So a lot of potential for Seattle to be better even quickly than most people would expect, I would say. So
good stuff.
All right, so we have gone a little bit long. So sorry about that.
We should start with hockey next time.
We probably should. We could have. Well, I was afraid that if we did, I would just go on and on and on, which I did anyway. But so Shai's surprised with that. There's a Seattle team coming. That was not, I think, a surprise to Van or I, but good surprise. And I'm excited for you to be the next.
I think the surprise is that he was going to be a fan. Like
he's
diving.
That I'm excited about it. The surprise was more that I'm excited about it. I figured you guys knew. I didn't think I was revealing to either of you that there was a Seattle hockey team. Van's on the same wavelength as me.
Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, he's committing to follow to play with.
Good.
Yeah,
that's like you said, a very exciting time to be in there from the beginning, and maybe that would be something we could do one day. Maybe we'll get together, and we'll go see a Seattle.
See the Avs play game. Seattle playing VGK, like a 3-way game.
They make a triangle rink, and it's a.
It would be awesome if there was ever a time when they actually played each other consecutively, though. Like if, let's say Seattle had back-to-back home games.
We got to wrap this up.
Okay. All right. We're over. If you want to talk to us about NFL, NHL, chess, other sports, or if you just want to tell us how much you hate hearing us going on about sports, in which we go back to video games, you can contact us on Twitter at Focus Target, on YouTube, Focus Target Podcast. These episodes are all there for you to read, review, like, subscribe, whatever you do on YouTube. You can email us, focustargetpodcast@gmail.com. And, of course, we're live streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Focus Target Podcast. You can catch us around this time every week. Obviously not last week, but I don't think we have any delays scheduled going forward. So, look for us on Tuesday nights. And join us on Twitch if you like. So, sorry for going over. Sorry, Van. I'm sorry to keep you from your dinner. Your wife is probably yelling at you in the background. I get it. So, for the Focus Target Podcast, I'm your host, Smiley.
This is Shai.
And I'm Van. As always, cover us, Porkins. We're out.